Good evening. There is a particular gravity to the passage of time, and an even greater weight to the commitments we make within it. 30 years ago, in the spring of 1993, the voters of Muskegon County made a choice. They agreed to fund Muskegon Community College at a rate of 2.4 mils. Since then, the economy has shifted, industries have vanished and emerged, and a state mechanism known as the Headley Amendment did exactly what it was designed to do. It dialed back that tax rate as property values rose, protecting the citizen from unintended windfalls for the state. But on Tuesday, August 4th, the Board of Trustees at MCC is asking you to turn back the clock. They call it a restoration. They call it a minor adjustment, $37 a year for the average homeowner. But what they are truly asking for is a 30-year commitment, a mandate that stretches from this humid August of 2026 all the way to the mid-century mark of 2055. Tonight, we step away from the daily noise of talk in Muskegon on WKBZ to look closely at this proposal, not with malice, but with the cold, clear eye of stewardship. Because $2 million a year, extracted from the pockets of working families over 3 decades, deserves more than a slogan. It deserves an audit. Let us examine the core argument presented by the college administration. They argue that the Headley Amendment has starved them. They tell us that because their rate has eroded to 2.102 mils, they are being deprived of what is rightfully theirs. But let us understand why the Headley Amendment exists in the state of Michigan. It was passed by the people to ensure that local governments and institutions could not automatically reap a massive tax windfall simply because inflation or real estate speculation drove property values up. It was designed to say, if you want more of the public's money, you must come to the ballot box and justify it based on your current operations, not your past privileges. MCC claims that a lot has changed since 1993. They are correct. In 1993, the internet was a novelty. Today, it is infrastructure. But as technology has advanced, shouldn't efficiency have followed? When a private business transitions from paper-based filing cabinets to digital cloud storage, it scales down its overhead. It streamlines. It does not look at its customer base and demand a premium for the transition. Yet, our public institutions frequently look at modernization not as a means to save money, but as an elegant excuse to spend more of it. They tell us they need $2.1 million in the first year alone to fix roofs, update heating and cooling, and enhance safety. These are not grand visionary expansions. These are maintenance items. And the fundamental question the taxpayer must ask before pulling the lever on August 4th is simple. What happened to the operational budgets of the last 30 years that left the roofs leaking today? Consider the horizon. This proposal does not ask for a temporary bridge to mend an aging building. It asks for an authorized levy lasting 30 years. 30 years. Let us project ourselves across that vast expanse of time. The year will be 2055. Children born this morning in Muskegon Mercy Hospital will be 30 years old, entering the peak of their careers, paying off home loans of their own. They will still be paying for the ballot measure we decide next month. Think of what higher education looked like 30 years ago, and look at the trajectory today. Enrollment numbers across community colleges nationwide are fluctuating. Virtual learning, specialized trade certifications, and decentralized micro-credentials are reshaping how young people acquire skills. The traditional, sprawling physical campus model is facing its greatest structural challenge in a century. Is it prudent? Is it conservative to lock the taxpayers of Muskegon County into a physical infrastructure tax until 2055. If the nature of education shifts entirely to the digital sphere over the next decade, the bricks and mortar of MCC may stand underutilized, but your tax bill will remain entirely intact. Furthermore, we must look at where this money flows. The ballot language reveals a critical detail that is rarely featured on the glossy promotional pamphlets. A portion of these revenues will be captured by and dispersed to the brownfield redevelopment authorities of the city of Muskegon, Muskegon Heights, Norton Shores, and Montague. When you vote for an educational millage, you expect every dime to find its way to a classroom, a desk, or a teacher. You do not necessarily expect it to be diverted into municipal redevelopment funds. The pipeline is leaky, and the duration of the pipeline is a generation. The proponents of the millage will tell you that the cost is negligible. The price of a couple of cups of coffee a month, they like to say. It is a tired rhetorical device used by every public entity seeking an increase. $37 here for the college, $20 there for a school district bond, $50 for a county road millage. Eventually, the coffee pot runs dry. Muskegon County is a community of resilient, hard-working people, but we are also a community where many live on fixed incomes. Senior citizens who bought their homes decades ago, who watched their factories close, who clip coupons and measure their pennies, do not view $37 a year as an abstraction. To them, it is a utility bill. It is prescription medicine. When the college notes that 71% of polled focus group members supported this measure in a survey, we must ask who was surveyed, how the questions were framed, and whether the respondents truly understood that this was not a short-term fix, but a 3-decade obligation. We all desire a robust, successful community college. MCC has served this region honorably for generations. It has given many a head start on their degrees and provided others with a path into the skilled trades. But love for an institution should not blind us to financial discipline. True affection for our public entities demands that we hold them accountable to the same budget constraints that every household in Muskegon faces daily. If the college requires emergency funding for infrastructure, let them return with a shorter, targeted bond proposal. One that specifies exactly which roof will be patched, exactly which security system will be installed, and one that expires when the job is done. Do not ask for a blank operational check that outlives the careers of every current trustee on that board. On Tuesday, August 4th, the polling places across Muskegon County will open. The ballot will be small, the summer heat will be high, and the turnout will likely be low. That is precisely how structural tax increases pass, in the quiet shadows of a midsummer Tuesday. The decision rests with you. It is a choice between accepting the narrative of automatic institutional expansion or asserting that the taxpayer's wallet is not a bottomless well to be drawn from whenever old legislative rollbacks become inconvenient. We must look at the future we are building and the debt we are leaving for those who follow. This is Jim Riley. Thank you for listening. Good night and good luck.